Welcome to Health Coach for Women. Intentional living for more happiness and fulfillment in your everyday life with your host, Marsha Roopchand-Walker. Join Marsha as she shares her own personal wellness journey, as well as stories from our guests that will enlighten and inspire you to move towards better health and happiness. Now, here's your host, Marsha Roopchand-Walker.
Hello, and thank you for joining me on another episode of Health Coach for Women. Today, I'd like to talk to you about the flow of money. So, what do I mean by the flow of money? You know, a lot of times, many of us, we need money, right? We need money to survive and to purchase and to have a roof over our heads, purchase items and things like that. Sometimes we get caught up in this whole money situation, right? We get so caught up in wanting to have more and more money just to do what? So that we can spend more or so that we can hold on to it more. Some we save, we try to put away money, we try to save, we try to do more, to spend more, to have more. Sometimes we're just where we want to feel like the more money we have, the more prestige it gives us, right? The more we feel like we are on top, so to speak, and that's not always the case, right? That's not always the case. So first, let's talk about what is money actually? What is money? So money is only a tool, right? Money is only a tool for us to do the things that we need to do in order to maintain, living. As far as, where we're at now, where some people live. Not everybody lives on a farm where they can go out and get their food in their backyard, right? A lot of us, we still have to go to the grocery store, buy our food, and things like that. So money is just a tool, and it is a form of energy because it's meant to flow. It's meant to move. It's meant to circulate. But we shouldn't be consumed by money where it defines who we are, because we're not defined by the amount of wealth we have. We're defined by who we are as a person, our character, right? So we shouldn't get caught up into having more money. Having more money is nice, right? For some people. For some people, it means nothing. So it all depends on the individual, right? And it shouldn't be where we allow money to change us, now there's plenty of people who hold on to money because they're so frugal, they're tight with money, and you'll find at times that, the more you hold on to it, the more you'll, it's so funny how things work. The more you hold on to not spending, other things will happen. And I'm sure many of you can relate to that. Other things will happen where, you're trying to hold on to this to be tight with your money, right? You don't want to spend it. And because you don't want to spend it and spend it freely or whatever, you'll find yourself now you incurred an expense on something else. Maybe your car broke down. Now what you was holding on to, the cost to fix your vehicle is more than what you were holding on to. So it's very funny how things work. Right. And so that's why we have to, when we live in a state of flow and when we think about money, we have to think about of the flow of money. Right. Because, again, money is simply just a tool. It's not the root of all evil, as many of us has been taught and been brought up to think that money is the root of all evil. No, it's the person who has the money. Right. It's the person who has the money that can change an individual. I know plenty of broke people who are not that nice people, right? So it's not about the amount of money that you have, right? It's the individual, right? It's the individual. And money is just a tool and a resource to help you get the things that you need to get here. And we know that money actually is just paper money, right? It has no real value, right? Because it's something that is created from the government, and they made made paper money, and it actually has no real value. But this is what we use in society to trade and purchase, make purchases and buy things, right? And they've been saying that eventually they'll be getting rid of money, all right? And so everything will be on your card. So with that being said, what are your thoughts on that? A paperless society. What are your thoughts on that being a paperless society where everything is based on your card? Now, I personally only use my debit card. I don't carry cash around because more than likely when I carry cash around, I tend to lose it. So for me, I use my card. Now, my thought on the whole paperless society thing, I just feel like, okay, when that times comes, I'll cross that bridge when I come to it. I don't feel like it would affect me because I don't really carry cash around me anyway. So I'm already going paperless by not using cash. It's very rare that I have cash. But when we have our money left in financial institutions, then are we in control of our money at that time? Someone said to me, I heard someone say that, they don't save their money in the bank. Well, when paper money becomes worthless, then what? So that's a top. I guess that's the topic for another time. But I definitely want to stay on track on the whole flow of money, and we have to look at money as a form of energy, right? Because it's meant to exchange, it's meant to flow, it's meant for us to, this is how the economy stays afloat, by people spending, making purchases, right? And it's only a tool, and we need to be more mindful about money. We need to be more mindful in how we spend our money, and having our buying, increasing your knowledge and having more buying power, which we know we have consumers. Of course, we have buying power because we are the ones that support the big companies and organizations and things like that, because we spend our dollars. So where we spend our dollars is important. Supporting organizations who support natural health, right? Supporting organizations who is about healthy living, healthy lifestyle. And so those are the organizations that we need to support. Supporting our local farmers with organic produce, right? Organic fruits and vegetables, because we want to stay away from the pesticides. We want to stay away from those hybrid foods, right? Because we know a lot of those hybrid foods is what causes many illnesses today. We need to make sure that we invest our dollars where we matter most. We need to invest our dollars where we matter most. And so that's why it's so important to be educated about money, And so financial health is just as important as your overall wellness, right? Your mental, your physical, your spiritual. It's just as important because so many people are not educated about money. And who can say that it actually was taught about money growing up in school, and you were educated about budgeting and finance? And for the most part, many people would say they haven't, right? And I know that I haven't growing up. So it's only when I went to college that I, studied finance and learned over finance and economics and how money works, right? So It's important to know these things. It's important to know how money works. And I always tell people, pay yourself first. So it's because it's not about how much you make, it's about how much you pay yourself, how much you save towards yourself. Right. And so we know we have to pay the bills as long as we have rent to pay and a mortgage to pay. Yeah. So every month we know that utilities, mortgage, rent, light, all of those things has to be paid, health insurance. Those are without saying. We know that those monthly expenses is what we have to spend each month. Right. But what about paying yourself first? What about paying yourself first? And putting away money for yourself for whatever you choose to do it for. It could be for your own self-care, deposit, your self-care, right? To treat yourself once a month to a spa day, to treat yourself to a vacation, or just something that you want to have to put away, maybe for your future, for your future retirement, or maybe a fund for your grandchildren, children, grandchildren, etc. So we should always pay ourselves first, and that is so important because there's many people who can say there's not many people who can say they have 6 months of savings saved up, or even 3 months of saving saved up. If there was some type of major issue, some type of major mishap with the banking institutions, or with job, or some type of emergency, or even with this whole pandemic situation right now, right? We know many people lost their jobs. Many people didn't have or don't have 3 to 6 months worth of savings set aside. Right? So it's important to have something to put aside for a rainy day, right? It's important to have funds set aside, right? In case you need it for whatever emergency situation may arise. And so how do we do that? We put away, even if it's 10% of our pay, of what we earn, put away 10 to 20% of what we earn each week, keeping our expenses, trying to keep our monthly expenses low and reducing them as much as possible. Maybe you're in car insurance, you can shop around for a different rate, right? Shop around for a lower rate for your car insurance. Shop around. Maybe you don't need that cable. You can reduce your cable from, whatever, premium to basic, right? Or not have cable at all. And there's so many ways that you can save. And that money that you were saving, that you were spending each month, that was going towards a bill, and now you've just lowered your rate, your monthly expenses, you can put that into your fund. You can take that money and put it into your savings fund, right? And this is how you're able to get ahead and make progress. And so I'm never against anyone doing self-care. I'm never against that. I'm all for self-care. Treating yourself to getting your nails done, getting your hair done, getting a massage day is so important, especially when you work all week and you're working all week. You're tired, you're exhausted. You need to pamper yourself. You need to have that outlet. You need to have that moment of relaxation, or that moment of peace where you can just relax. So it's okay, to spend your money, right? And it's your money. But the important thing to know is to know when you are overspending, right? The important thing to know is when you are overspending, right? And so if you come up with a negative balance each month, and that's why it's so important to create a budget and to know what you're spending each month. It's so important to actually sit down and write out your bills, and you can visually see what you make each month, what you're bringing home each week or every other week, right? Your take-home pay, and add up your monthly expenses and really do the numbers and find ways that that you can save. Find ways that you can save and reduce your expenses. What are some of the things that you're paying for right now and you're not even using it, but you're paying every month? Go ahead and take a look at that and restructure your budget. There's plenty of apps out there, budget apps that are helpful, Mint and some others, and even some of the banks like Chase, they give you a snapshot of what you spent each month. And so pay attention to that. Pay attention to that to see what you're spending, right? And to see, how much is going out and what you're actually bringing in. You will see that it's very, some people will. What I was going to say was that it's very beneficial, but you will see that it's so many people feel like a budget is like, a budget. Do I need a budget? Yeah, you do need a budget. It's good to have a budget because you can actually look at it and see what you're spending each month. And you can actually take control of that and see what needs to be tweaked, right? What needs to be tweaked and how you can save more money each month, right? And so if you want to have your own fund for whatever, your dream fund for whatever your own personal dreams and goals are, you want to set aside money for that. Do that. And I can pretty much guarantee you will find a way that you can save some type of money each month. You will be able to save something each month. You're not locked in to be limited to one insurance company. When your insurance policy is up for renewal, shop around, right? Shop around. You can even probably refinance your car. If you have a car note, refinance your car at a lower interest rate. Rates are great right now. You can lower your interest rate. Okay, you can lower your interest rate on your mortgage, something where you can save every month. If your mortgage is pretty high right now, you want to refinance it. And right now, I think that they're doing so many things to help people, or trying, I would say, at least trying to do things to help people who are going through some hard times, right? And we know that money is one of the major causes of divorce in households, right? And it not only it causes divorce, it causes stress and anxiety, right? Stress and anxiety, sleepless nights, right? Because when you're worrying about money all the time, right? And that was me. Right. And that was me worrying about money, worrying about where it's going to come from. How am I going to do this? How am I going to do that? But you have to let go, right? And let it flow. And what I mean by that is let it go and let it flow is to not let money be in control of you, where you're so consumed by it, right? Where you're so consumed by money, by not having enough or having so much and you want more. So it's about just living in that free state, that flow state of where it's energy is meant to be passed, it's meant to be shared. And so that's why it's so important when you're doing your charitable contributions, giving to charity or giving to just someone in need, right? And you will see that when you do things like that, you'll be rewarded tenfold, double, tenfold, that you will receive increase. And that's what I'm talking about, that flow of money, the flow of money, and how as it goes out, it also comes back to you, right? And it's so important that we think more like that, and we're not so consumed with our finances. Yes, it's important, but we need to start out by really taking a snapshot and looking at where we are, right? Start with a budget, right? Start with a budget. Write every bill down that you pay each month. Write what you bring home each week or every other week, whatever you bring in for the month, and start calculating, do the numbers, and see where you are. Are you making just enough money? Making just enough money? Maybe you may want to have a side hustle. There's people who have do things on the side for extra money. They pick up an extra shift for extra funds. And if you're not able to do that, because a lot of people have young children, they're not able to do that, and that's understandable, right? And so if you're in a position where you're not really able to pick up extra shifts at work, you're not able to do, maybe you can do other things, whatever your hobby is, right? Whatever you do on the side, maybe you sew, maybe you crochet, maybe you take pictures, whatever it is. You find your own little extra little hobby that you do and where it makes you money, right? It makes you some money to help you with your bills. But if you're in a position where you don't have a hobby or a side hustle that can help you, in your finances, that's why it's so important to go back to that budget and find ways to cut costs. Find ways to cut costs and pay yourself first. Find ways to cut costs so that you can have money for you. What's the point of going to work every day and living and just paying bills? Life is more than just simply going to work, getting up and going to work every day just so you can pay bills. It's that never-ending cycle, right? Because it never ends, right? It never ends. So it's just continuous. So we have to be mindful in how we spend our dollars, right? Mindful in how we spend our dollars, where we spend our dollars, and paying ourselves first, right? And having a realistic budget, and saving. So it's so important. Many people don't think about, things such as life insurance. That is a personal choice. Personal choice if you're in a position where, you're just not able to save and you have small children. I personally think it's good to have life insurance, term life insurance. That way, if something were to happen, you have something in place for your children. That's just my personal choice. Again, it's totally up to you. But the important thing is, to have that financial health is to really take a moment and really sit down and do a budget. Sit down and actually do your budget and see where you can save money, right? Especially right now during this time. Cable is not that important, right? They have so many other streaming things where you can watch videos, Hulu, Netflix, Amazon Prime Video. I mean, there's so many different streaming channels where you can watch different shows, right? It's not going to cost you $150 to $200 a month, right? So start there. Start by doing a budget. Start by doing that budget and really taking a look and going over your finances. And it's something that a lot of people don't care to talk about, right? Is finances. That's one of the topics that many people avoid. But you have to face it, you have to face it. And for those who are married, and you have maybe cards that your spouse doesn't know about, or cards you may have gotten in their name, right? I know people who has done that as well. It's time to just, you have to look at your values and what's important to you, right? You have to look at your values and say, what is important to you, right? Is it just things, or is it the people in my life, right? Is it just the things, or is it just people in my, because things are just things, right? New car, new house, or they're just things. They're all material things, right? And we know that we don't take it with us when we go, when it's that time, when we cross over, we don't take it with us, right? So we need to prioritize what's important. What is important, in life, and what really matters. And yes, money is important, but your overall health is important. Finances are important. Your mental health is important. That's number one. Your mental health, your overall well-being is important. So let's not be consumed about money and the stress that it causes, and the breakups in relationships, and the stress and what it causes in relationships when we're not truthful about our finances, when we're not truthful about what we're doing and how we're spending our money. And so, if you're in a relationship, with a significant other, that's something that you definitely need to talk about as a team, because you're a unit, you're one. And if you're living together and you share bills and expenses, it's important that you guys are on one accord, right? You're on one accord and you are honest about where you are in your finances. Be honest about where you are in your finances, right? Because if we stay stuck, if we continue to not be honest about where we are in our finances, we stay stuck. And if we want to have more flow, more abundance, more abundance in our lives, not just with money, but in our health and our overall wellness, we need to be honest about where we are, right? We need to be honest about where we are in our lives. So that's what I like for you to do. Take a moment, go over your finances, create a budget of what you actually bring home and what you actually are spending each month, and find ways to save. I don't care if it's $20 a month. That's $20 more that you can have for yourself, right? So it's so important. And again, when I talk about the flow of money, it's a form of energy in a sense that it was meant to flow, it's meant to move, right? It's what moves and drives the economy. So it is a form of energy, right? It is a form of energy because it's meant to move around. Money moves around, right? It's a way of doing to not bartering, so to speak. You can barter. That's another way of trading, right? Bartering without using paper money, right? But it's a way of that exchange of money where, I want this. So I want groceries from the store. So I go to the supermarket and I make a purchase, right? If we had money and we held on to it and we didn't spend it, what happens? And this is what this whole pandemic has been doing, right? People are spending less, right? For some people are spending less because they have less, right? They have less. They're not working, or they're receiving unemployment, and the finances is not there as it once was, right? So that's what I mean about the whole flow of money, right? Because that is what it does. Money, it moves, right? It moves and it flows, and it's what keeps the economy going. And so when they do this, when they do provide the stimulus, that is what it's meant for. Let's be realistic here. It's meant because they want you to spend money. And it's what keeps the economy going, right? If businesses don't make money, then they go out of business. And so that favorite restaurant that you enjoyed going to may not be around because they just don't have the revenue. They don't have the money to keep it going, to keep it up and running. So we have the buying power. We choose where we want to spend our money, and it's up to us to support those people who support us, right? Because we matter. We, the consumer, matter. So that is all I have for you right now. The flow of money. Realize that it's only a tool, and it's not meant to destroy you, although it can if you allow it, right? Money is just a tool for an exchange to get you the things that you want. But it's important to know that it's up to you in how you value and respect money and how you look at money, right? So your perception on what you see and how you feel about money will be reflected back to you on how you receive money, right? And how money plays and shows up in your life, right? And so if you operate with a mindset of scarcity, you'll always have the mindset of a poor man's mentality where you never have enough because you're operating from a place of scarcity, right? So always think of everything and abundantly, that you have enough. Never say that you don't have enough. You have enough, even if you don't make a lot of money. Again, because it's not about how much you make, it's about how much you save. And by paying yourself first, being realistic, having that budget, eliminating some of the unnecessary bills and expenses that you don't need, reducing it and taking that money to pay yourself first, or to put in a fund, or to put a save, or to set aside to do what you want for you. Okay, so I thank you so much. I hope you did get something out of this episode today. And I look forward to speaking with you again next week. Bye for now.
Thank you so much for listening to Health Coach for Women with your host, Marsha Roopchand-Walker. If you've enjoyed this podcast, please be sure to rate, subscribe, and review on your preferred podcast listening platform. We really appreciate that effort. Until next time.